Gray rain soaked the clapboard walls of Pine Creek Baptist Church as 68-year-old Cecilia Harper stood by the walnut casket. Harold's face, once broad and laughing, now lay still beneath a veil of lilies. The small-town choir hummed Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, but Cecilia heard only the frantic ticking of the wall clock above the altar. Lucas, tall, suit slightly too large, kept his eyes on the hymn book. His wife Rachel, in a slim black sheath, dabbed her dry cheeks with a silk handkerchief no tears had touched. Beside them, Pine Creek's gossip mill churned in whispers. Harold left the house to Cecilia, right? She can't manage it alone. Lucas will do what's best. Cecilia's spine stiffened. I'm not a stray dog to be managed. During the eulogy, the pastor praised Harold's unshakable devotion to family. Cecilia's grip on the pew tightened, devotion that ended in a heart attack on the back porch, pruning shears still in his hand. She swallowed her grief like gravel. After the final amen, the crowd drifted toward the cemetery hill. Cecilia lingered, telling friends she needed one quiet minute. Truth was, she felt the church closing in, everyone's pitying eyes bruising her skin. She slipped down the side aisle, through a door marked choir robes only, and exhaled into the dusty stillness of a storage room. Light from a high window streaked onto folding chairs stacked like coffins. She pressed Harold's wedding band to her lips, letting the warm metal steady her pulse. Outside, doors opened and shut, voices floated past. Then the hinge squeaked, someone entering the adjoining kitchenette. Cecilia froze. Just sign the listing papers next week, a deep male voice said. Lucas. Mom's house can fetch $350 easy, even in this market. Cecilia's heart slammed. My house? Rachel's tone sliced through the wall. Then we move her into Oaksview. The sooner we get her settled, the sooner we list. We need that equity for the DC condo. Silence, then Lucas muttered, I hate blindsiding her at Dad's funeral. Lucas, Rachel hissed, this is strategy, not sentimentality. She's fragile. It'll be easier if decisions are made for her. Every syllable landed like a spade of dirt on Harold's casket. Cecilia's knees buckled, grief interlaced with a white-hot thread of betrayal. In the church corridor a voice called, family cars are lining up. The kitchenette door shut. Their footsteps faded. Inside the storeroom, Cecilia clutched one of Harold's flannel handkerchiefs. For the first time since he died, tears came, not gentle beads but furious drops that scalded her cheeks. Outside, thunder rolled. She straightened, wiped her eyes, and whispered to Harold's ring, they think I'm fragile? Watch me. The burial was brief, rain kept mourners to fast-forward condolences. Back at the family farmhouse, white paint peeling, magnolias shedding blossoms like confetti, Cecilia greeted guests with the practiced smile of a retired librarian who'd once tamed generations of rowdy children. Inside, Rachel took command. Food goes on the breakfast bar. Coffee, there. She rerouted casseroles like an event planner on triple espresso. Lucas followed, apologetic eyes darting toward his mother but never quite meeting hers. In the hallway, Cecilia intercepted Pine Creek's attorney, Mr. Caldwell, thin, silver-haired, raincoat still dripping. Do you have a moment? In your study, he suggested. Boxes of Harold's fishing magazines crowded the study floor. Caldwell closed the door. Harold updated his will 6 months ago. He asked me not to share the details until the official reading. Cecilia's brows knitted. Is my home in jeopardy? Caldwell's gaze sharpened. Only if you wish it to be. He slid a sealed envelope across the desk. Harold wrote this for you. Read it privately. And, if anyone pressures you, call me. Footsteps approached. Caldwell slipped out. Rachel appeared, cradling Harold's pewter urn of pipe tobacco, decoration now. Guests are leaving. Could you move those old boxes? The house feels cluttered. Cecilia's eyes flicked to the envelope she had hidden beneath a gardening catalog. I like clutter, she said evenly. Rachel's smile was plastic. We'll need open spaces when potential buyers come through. Buyers? Cecilia's tone was ice. Rachel shrugged. You'll be happier at Oaksview. It has bridge nights. You've already toured it? Due diligence, mother. Rachel patted Cecilia's hand as if soothing a child, then sailed out. The audacity stung more than the words. Later, as storm clouds drifted west, Cecilia sat in Harold's armchair and broke the wax seal. The letter began in his looping hand. My Cece. If you're reading this, you've already seen people's real faces. I couldn't stop the inevitable, but I could give you tools. Her throat tightened. Harold detailed financial accounts in her name only, a small safe deposit key taped to the page, and, most surprising, a right of first refusal clause barring the sale of the farmhouse without Cecilia's notarized consent. He ended, remember, librarians are the keepers of stories and secrets. Cecilia pressed the letter to her chest. Harold knew. And he'd armed her. At midnight she padded to the kitchen. Rachel and Lucas's voices filtered down the back staircase. Sign Friday, Rachel whispered. Mom's grief will make her pliable. Lucas murmured, I need time. You're always needing time. China rattled, Rachel was collecting Harold's antique tea set. The appraisals booked. Cecilia faded into the shadows, her fingers curling around Harold's heavy stoneware mug. She saw now, grief was their cover, speed their weapon. But librarians read between lines, and she had just begun chapter 1 of her own story. Morning draped gold across fields of cotton. Lucas appeared on the porch with 2 coffees. Mom, thought you'd like. She accepted the mug, eyes cool. When were you planning to tell me about Oaksview? Lucas's shoulders sagged. Rachel got ahead of us. It's only a tour, Mom. Selling my home isn't only anything. She watched guilt flash through his hazel eyes, Harold's eyes, dimmed by compromise. Inside, Rachel shuffled paperwork. We have 3 cash buyers interested. 3? Cecilia echoed. Already? It's a seller's market. Rachel's smile gleamed. Think about the freedom, no repairs, no isolation. I'm not isolated. Book club meets here every Thursday. Lucas cleared his throat. Mom, Dad wanted you safe. Cecilia opened Harold's letter, slapped it onto the table. Your father wanted me secure. This clause means you can't sell without my consent. And I do not consent. Rachel blanched, lips thinning. Legal fine print can be renegotiated. Not this. Caldwell's voice rang from the foyer, the attorney stepped in, carrying stamped copies of the will. It's ironclad. Rachel's smile shattered. Lucas, a word. No, Cecilia interrupted. Let's all talk. Tension crackled. Caldwell laid out the terms. Cecilia retained full ownership. Lucas would inherit the farmland only if he maintained monthly in-person visits for 2 years. Rachel was left exactly one thing, Harold's vintage pickup, the truck she'd once mocked as hillbilly decor. Rachel's cheeks flamed. A truck? Harold's posthumous humor landed like thunder. Caldwell added, failure to comply voids inheritances. Rachel's composure cracked. So you're punishing us? Lucas whispered, Ratch, please. She stormed outside, heels stabbing the porch boards. Through the window Cecilia watched Rachel dial furiously, lips forming the word lawyer. Lucas sank into a chair. Mom! I didn't want this. She pushed. Cecilia softened, but held her ground. Pushing only works if someone is movable. Are you movable, Lucas? He covered his face. I don't know. The honesty, raw and small, twisted her heart more than fury ever could. Pressure rose. Realtors phoned, Rachel answered, promising progress. Lucas avoided eye contact. Cecilia, however, moved like a chess master preparing for an endgame. She visited Pine Creek Bank, Harold's safe deposit key in her purse. Inside the box she found certificates of deposit, a folder marked Scholarship Fund, Pine Creek Youth Library, and a velvet pouch containing a delicate cameo brooch. Back home she spread the documents across the dining table. Each paper was power, tuition funds to inspire loyalty, community holdings to rally neighbors. Rachel might have money, but Cecilia had narrative, and towns thrive on stories. That night she met with her book club friends, retired teachers, a newspaper editor, the mayor's sister. Over potluck pies, Cecilia shared only what mattered. Rachel wants me out. Harold says I stay. I'd appreciate your support. Mrs. Edith May, Pine Creek's rumor gatekeeper, leaned forward. Rachel, forgetting the South, lives on porch talk. The editor, Mr. Jenkins, scribbled notes. Front page human interest? Widow defends home from greedy kin. Cecilia waved him off, smiling. Maybe page 2. They laughed, but a pact formed in the crumbs and coffee rings. Community would stand with Cecilia. Meanwhile, Rachel typed furiously at the kitchen island, drafting a cease and desist for Caldwell. Lucas paced. We're alienating everyone. Dad just died. Rachel snapped, your father sabotaged us from the grave. We deserve compensation. Lucas whispered, is it about Dad's money, or proving we're in control? Rachel's silence was answer enough. At dawn Cecilia walked Harold's garden, demottling her shoes. She clutched the brooch, recalling Harold's last words about it, gave that to Mama on her wedding day. Heirlooms hold families together. She pinned it to her cardigan. Symbolism matters, she thought, especially when wars are fought with whispers. Inside, she drafted a letter to the County Historical Society offering the farmhouse's library room, once Harold's den, as a reading corner honoring veterans. She copied the mayor, the local news, the state librarian. Allies accumulate quietly. Cecilia was building hers brick by letter-sealed brick. Rachel, across town with a combative attorney, lined hers in billable hours. That evening Cecilia set a fresh pitcher of lemonade on the porch. Lucas emerged, expression weary. Mom, Rachel's filing for partial conservatorship, citing your emotional instability. Cecilia swallowed a surge of indignation. I buried my husband. Tears aren't instability. Lucas rubbed his temples. I can fight her, but... No, Cecilia's voice strengthened. Fighting her is fighting. Let her come. Light reveals intentions. She handed him a glass. Harold used to say, the loudest thunder comes after the flash. We let her flash. Lucas managed a half-smile. For a moment, mother and son watched the clouds bruise violet over the fields. Somewhere a mourning dove called, and Cecilia felt Harold near. Rachel's petition hit the courthouse clerk's desk Monday morning. Pine Creek buzzed. At Hazel's diner, two old farmers debated over grits. You put your mama in a home before the dirt settled, ain't right. The tide of public opinion pressed inexorably. Rachel countered with a PR salvo, glossy flyers claiming Cecilia preferred professional care. They littered mailboxes like locusts. But when townsfolk phoned Cecilia, she chuckled softly, I prefer my own porch swing. Lucas, stuck between love and ambition, met with Caldwell. Is there leeway? Caldwell eyed him. Your father offered you stewardship, not spoils. Decide which you want. The courthouse hearing resembled theater. Rachel strode in with a high-priced lawyer. Cecilia entered flanked by Caldwell and half of Pine Creek's senior book club. The judge, rumpled, skeptical, reviewed medical records declaring Cecilia perfectly competent. Rachel's counsel argued, our client fears Mrs. Harper may neglect the property, devaluing family assets. Caldwell rose. Exhibit A, signed agreements donating portions of the estate for public literacy programs, enhancing both value and community enrichment. Murmurs rippled. The judge frowned at Rachel. Mrs. Bradley, did you know of these plans? Rachel's cheeks flushed. That's new. Cecilia stood. Your Honor, I lost my husband, not my mind. My home is my memory chest. I intend to preserve it, just as Harold wanted. The judge banged the gavel, petition denied. Outside, reporters gathered, courtesy of Mr. Jenkins's front-page teaser. Cameras captured Rachel stomping to her car. Lucas lingered on the steps, shoulders bowed. Cecilia approached him. Still movable? His eyes brimmed. Mom, I thought security meant dollars. Dad knew it meant roots. She touched his cheek. Roots can regrow if you water them. Just then Rachel reversed down Main Street, gravel spraying like fury incarnate. Lucas watched her taillights vanish. For the first time, he didn't chase after. That evening Cecilia hosted an impromptu supper, fried catfish, collard greens, sweet tea. Neighbors crowded the farmhouse, laughter threading through grief. In the glow of porch lanterns, Cecilia announced, Harold dreamed of turning the den into a community library. Who'll help swing a hammer? Hands shot up. The war had shifted. Rachel had contracts, Cecilia had a town. In the quiet after guests departed, Lucas lingered by the doorway. Need help tomorrow? Yes. Bring your drill and some humility. She winked, he chuckled. Upstairs, Cecilia placed Harold's letter in a cedar box labeled Chapter 1, because that's what grief becomes once you choose to write the next. She opened the window, letting night air carry the scent of magnolia across her room. Beyond the orchard, distant lightning split the horizon, but no thunder followed. Cecilia smiled, sometimes silence is victory. The game had begun, and she was no longer afraid. Tuesday dawned with a red-striped sky, sailor's warning. By 9:30, a deputy delivered Rachel's newest attack, a quiet title lawsuit claiming Cecilia's advanced age and fragile cognition rendered Harold's last amendments void. Cecilia read the thick packet at the kitchen table while steam curled from her forget-me-not teacup. Caldwell, on speaker, they're arguing Harold lacked capacity and you exerted undue influence. Cecilia, dryly, Harold once beat the town chess champion blindfolded. Try selling that as senile. Yet the suit froze every bank asset mentioned in the will except Cecilia's personal checking. Rachel's lawyer was starving her into surrender. Bills, repairs, even groceries would soon pinch. Cecilia inhaled cedar scent from Harold's cedar chest, searching for calm, and found it in memory, Harold teaching their son to whittle, telling Lucas, pressure shapes wood or breaks it. Decide which you'll be. Pressure, then, could also shape widows. That afternoon Cecilia hosted a war council. Caldwell, Mayor Thompson, and Miss Ivy, the high school media arts teacher who ran the town's only podcast. In the parlor, sunbeams dusted portraits of Cecilia's ancestors as they applauded. 2 fights, Caldwell began. Courtroom and court of opinion. Ivy grinned. Opinion is my playground. Viral audio snippets, shareable quotes, we make Rachel the cautionary tale. Mayor Thompson tapped a pen. And martial civic pride. The farmhouse library aligns with our literacy initiative. Cecilia asked for a moment alone. Upstairs, she knelt beside Harold's gun safe, converted years ago into his treasure box. Behind old family passports lay a mint-condition first edition of To Kill a Mockingbird, signed by Harper Lee. A wedding gift Harold had bought on layaway. He joked, if Atticus could defend Tom Robinson, we can defend each other. The book's auction value could fund months of litigation. Her thumb brushed the inscription, for Cece, keep reading the truth aloud. Decision made, she phoned Caldwell. List the book. Highest reputable house. We meet force with fuel. That evening lightning cracked and rain pelted tin roof. Lucas arrived, drenched but determined. Mom, Rachel doesn't know about the signed Lee. She'll spin it as wasteful. Cecilia fed him chicken stew. Let her spin. Storms reveal leaks. She slid a folder toward him, volunteer forms for the new library. If you truly choose stewardship, start here. Shelving books changes a man's posture. Lucas signed, ink trembling but sure. Outside, thunder rumbled. Inside, Cecilia felt the gears of war grind, not with gunpowder but paragraphs, podcasts, and pages. 3 days later the appraisal office phoned. Rachel, it seemed, had scheduled inspectors to document property condition. Cecilia greeted them in a wide-brim hat and gardening gloves, directing them past blooming azaleas while Ivy's students discreetly filmed. Inside, the inspectors paused at the mantel where Cecilia now displayed the signed Atticus Finch edition under glass. One whistled. That real? Real enough to pay a lawyer's mortgage, Cecilia replied, eyes twinkling for the camera. After they left, she settled in Harold's leather wingback, letter opener poised. Another envelope, smaller, heavy, had arrived from Caldwell. Harold's handwriting again. If Rachel's greed surfaces, seek page 204, margin note B. Page 204 of the signed novel revealed a thin slit in the binding. Cecilia eased out a flash drive labeled Project Sunrise. She loaded it on Harold's dusty laptop. Up popped spreadsheets titled Harper Solar LLC, Confidential. Her jaw dropped. Harold had been partnering with a regional green energy firm to lease their unused south acreage for solar panels, guaranteed payouts for 25 years, enough to bankroll the community library and Cecilia's retirement 10 times over. Contracts awaited only Cecilia's counter-signature. She rang Caldwell. Can Rachel touch this? It's in your sole name, filed separately. Untouchable. Outside, Lucas sauntered up the drive, a cardboard box under one arm. Old photo albums you wanted digitized. His tone shy. Cecilia invited him in, showed him the flash drive. Lucas's eyes widened. Dad never told me. Because he doubted your wife's discretion, Cecilia said gently. You needed to choose your values first. Lucas set the albums down. I'm choosing now, Mom. He reached into his pocket, produced a voice memo, Rachel berating her attorney for not twisting the narrative hard enough. He pressed play, Rachel's disdain dripped through the speaker. Proof of malice. Cecilia's lips firmed. Send it to Miss Ivy. Let Pine Creek hear the thunder. That night Ivy released a 7-minute special episode, Greed at the Grieving House. It opened with Rachel's tirade, then shifted to testimonials, children recalling Cecilia reading storybooks, veterans praising Harold's barbecues. The town Facebook group erupted. Hashtags #Stand with Cecilia and #Greed Never Sleeps trended statewide. Rachel fired back online, lies. But screenshots multiplied faster than she could delete. Satellite news sniffed a human interest wildfire. Just before midnight, Lucas texted Cecilia one line, she's packing a suitcase. Cecilia closed her laptop, prayed for her son's conscience, and slept the soundest sleep since Harold's heart stopped. By Monday reporters ringed the white picket fence. Cecilia served lemonade from the porch, answering politely, court will sort facts. Meanwhile, anyone want a book recommendation? Inside, Rachel, who'd come to collect personal effects, found herself filmed by Ivy's students again as she climbed the stairs with empty designer luggage. Cecilia intercepted her at Harold's study door. Looking for the truck keys? She asked sweetly. It's your only inherited item, remember? Rachel sneered. Keep your dusty house. I'll see you bankrupt. Cecilia's gaze cooled. Solar energy outperforms spite. She handed Rachel a single sheet, a notice of trespass. Any removal of property without inventory is theft. Rachel's lawyer appeared behind her, jaw tight. Mrs. Harper, this publicity stunt jeopardizes mediation. Cecilia motioned to cameras rolling in the hallway. Transparency prevents misinterpretation. Downstairs, the county clerk arrived with corrected probate filings. In front of witnesses he announced an overlooked codicil. Harold had transferred the entire vehicular collection, 3 antique tractors and the beloved pickup, to Lucas, conditional on his completing 200 volunteer hours at the future library. Rachel sputtered. Volunteer? Manual labor? Lucas, cheeks flushing, nodded. I accept. The clerk added, failure reverts assets to Pine Creek Historical Society. Cecilia caught Harold's humor shimmering behind legalese. Rachel stormed out, cameras recording each stomp. That afternoon Lucas changed into work jeans and hauled lumber into the den. Neighbors poured in hammers, paint rollers, iced tea. Children pinned construction paper signs, Harper Community Library, coming soon. Each nail hammered echoed across social media. Evening glow lit sawdust motes as Cecilia paused to breathe the scent of pine boards and fresh purpose. She texted Caldwell, Phase 1 of sunrise signs tomorrow. Minutes later, Lucas approached, sawdust in his curls. Did Dad foresee all this? Cecilia wiped a smudge from his cheek. He couldn't predict greed, but he knew the cure was service. Lucas swallowed hard. I missed that lesson. Then learn it now, she whispered, and handed him the signed Harper Lee novel to shelf safe upstairs. Lucas cradled it like redemption. Rachel's next gamut unfolded at the emergency mediation session she coerced through a friendly circuit judge. She arrived in low-key beige, eyes artificially reddened. Opposite her, Cecilia wore Harold's old flannel jacket over a navy dress, symbol of history meeting future. Mediator Judge Morrison opened, Mrs. Bradley, you claim emotional distress due to public defamation? Rachel dabbed her eyes. They painted me a villain. My reputation, ruined. Ivy sat behind Cecilia, live tweeting. #villaincheck spiked. Caldwell presented printed transcripts of Rachel's leaked audio. Truth is an absolute defense, Your Honor. Rachel's lawyer pivoted. We propose immediate liquidation of the estate to minimize further conflict, splitting proceeds 50-50. Cecilia met Rachel's gaze. 50-50? Generous, if we shared DNA. Rachel snapped, without funds, your solar dream dies. Cecilia slid a signed power purchase agreement across the table, final since dawn. Lease payments begin next quarter. Mediator Morrison whistled softly. Rachel's mask slipped, eyes flicking to her lawyer, fury spark bright. Caldwell produced a second document, withdrawal of Cecilia's defamation countersuit conditional on Rachel's public apology and full dismissal of the quiet title action. Choose peace or continue hemorrhaging goodwill. Rachel's jaw clenched. I need a recess. In the hallway Lucas stood waiting. Ratch, maybe we should apologize and move on. Move on, she hissed. To what, your mother's charity projects? Lucas inhaled. To integrity. Rachel's laugh was brittle glass. You were never ambitious enough for me. Somewhere inside him a final rope snapped. Lucas stepped back, eyes clear. Then we both wasted time. He turned and re-entered the mediation room, on Cecilia's side. When Rachel returned, Morrison asked for her decision. Silence stretched. Reporters held breath. Finally she muttered, I withdraw. The words tasted foul. Caldwell handed over a drafted apology. Rachel signed. Cameras flashed. Ivy tweeted one word, #consequences. Outside, rain had ended, a double rainbow crowned the courthouse, photographer's gold. Cecilia lifted her face to the color-washed sky, whispering, Thank you, Harold. Freed funds flowed like spring melt. Construction crews installed library shelving, while solar engineers staked fields beyond the orchard. Pine Creek crackled with civic pride, schoolchildren collected book donations, the high school jazz band promised music for opening day. Cecilia, however, prepared her quiet endgame, ensuring Rachel could not resurrect old schemes. She met Caldwell in his office, sliding a notebook across the desk. All my assets, trusts, contingency plans. If anything happens to me, stewardship passes to the library board, not family. Caldwell read, eyebrows rising. Airtight generosity. Harold taught me, control is safest when shared with the right people. Meanwhile, Rachel, apartment hunting in Atlanta, learned that Ivy's podcast montage had gone viral nationwide. Corporate HR departments used it in ethics training. Job interviews evaporated. An email pinged from her lawyer, retainer depleted. Please replenish or we cease representation. Rachel hurled her phone, glass shattering. Back in Pine Creek, Lucas finished his 100th volunteer hour. Sweat-glazed, he and Cecilia hung a carved wooden sign above the restored den door, the Harold and Cecilia Harper reading room. Townsfolk applauded. Mayor Thompson handed Cecilia a proclamation, Harper Day, annual, every June 10th. Cecilia smiled at the date, Harold's birthday. That evening Lucas lingered on the porch, watching fireflies. Mom, I filed separation papers. Cecilia took his hand. I'm sorry for the hurt, glad for the courage. He nodded toward the silhouetted solar arrays. Sunrise, huh? Every morning, she said, whether we're ready or not. At dawn Cecilia brewed coffee, walked barefoot to the garden where Harold's ashes rested beneath a young dogwood. Solar panels winked sunlight back at the sky, the farmhouse pulsed with new life. She knelt, brushing dew from petals. Phase 2 begins today, love, she whispered. The real game, teaching children words that save them from future Rachels. Wind rustled the dogwood, as if Harold approved. Inside, her phone buzzed, Lucas texting a selfie with kindergarten volunteers shelving picture books. Beneath it he'd typed simply, roots watered. Cecilia's eyes blurred with tears, this time, tears Harold would have called worthy. She pocketed her phone, squared her shoulders, and stepped through the front door into a sunrise bright enough to write by. The widow had become the author, the house her story, and chapter 10 was only the prologue of the life she chose to live. A dusty sunbeam crossed the half-finished reading room where Cecilia sat alone, notebook open, pen tapping. The storm with Rachel had subsided, no longer a rolling thunderhead, but a humid heaviness that promised lightning again. She outlined 3 columns. 1. Legal, quiet title suit dismissed, but appeals possible. 2. Financial, solar lease signed, first check due July 1st. 3. Community, library launch date, June 10th, Harold's birthday. A knock. Lucas stepped in, sleeves rolled past the elbow, sawdust sprinkled through his hair like early snow. Mom, the shelving's done. Need me? Always. She motioned him to a chair. We have a month to turn this from construction zone to sanctuary. Let's talk volunteers, inventory, press. He listened, taking notes. When they finished, Lucas cleared his throat. Rachel filed unemployment. She's staying with college friends in Atlanta. Cecilia's pen halted. Regret can build character if she lets it. Do you ever miss her? The good parts? She met his eyes. Lucas, I'm old enough to know people aren't chapters, they're entire libraries. You loved her Volume 1. Volume 2 wrote itself. Outside, a car door slammed. Attorney Caldwell hurried toward the porch, suit jacket flapping. Inside, he laid a thick envelope on the workbench. The official reading of the will, judge scheduled it for next Thursday. Rachel petitioned for transparency, so extended family may attend. Cameras too. Cecilia inhaled. Then we turn a reading into a reckoning. That night she phoned Miss Ivy, can your media students live stream professionally? Ivy's laugh crackled. They're already building the graphics package. Cecilia clicked her pen and added to column 3, own the narrative. The county courthouse overflowed, reporters, cousins from 3 states, Pine Creek locals curious as barn cats. Judge Langley, stern as a grandfather clock, took the dais. Cameras rolled. Caldwell began, the last will and testament of Harold Frank Harper, amended 6 months prior to his passing. gasps at each bequest. $50,000 to Pine Creek Baptist Choir for new instruments. Life tenancy of the farmhouse to Cecilia, irrevocable. Farmland income to Lucas conditional upon 200 volunteer hours, half already logged. Caldwell paused, voice dropping. Item 14, to my daughter-in-law, Rachel Harper Bradley, I leave the lesson she values most, ambition, embodied by my restored 1951 Chevrolet pickup and nothing else. Snickers rippled. A reporter coughed to hide laughter. Rachel's face blanched, then flushed furious vermilion. Langley banged his gavel. Order. Caldwell continued, sliding a sealed envelope towards Cecilia. Personal letter to my wife, may read aloud or privately. Cecilia rose, hands steady. Harold never hid behind paper. She opened it. Cece, if greed dogs our door, remember, wealth is a story. Tell it well. Love always, H. She folded it. Story told. Applause burst, uncourtlike yet irrepressible. Rachel shot to her feet. Your Honor, I contest, again. Harold was manipulated. Judge Langley's gaze hardened. Mrs. Bradley, your previous claim was dismissed for lack of evidence. Unless you possess new proof. Rachel glanced around, no allies. Even her lawyer avoided eye contact. Cameras zoomed. Finally she muttered, no, Your Honor. Langley nodded. Will stands. Gavel down. Outside, microphones swarmed. Cecilia spoke first. My husband believed community triumphs over covetousness. Today proved him right. Behind her, Lucas faced reporters too. Dad's legacy is service. I intend to earn what he left me. Rachel shoved through the crowd, but Ivy's live stream captured the moment as children from the Pine Creek Boys and Girls Club rushed up, waving hand-painted signs, "Thank you, Cecilia." The camera lingered on Rachel's retreating silhouette, swallowed by a sea of gratitude she hadn't cultivated. Atlanta's skyline greeted Rachel like glass-edged judgment. She discovered quickly, viral infamy travels faster than resumes. 3 marketing firms rescinded interviews after a single Google search. She tried selling Harold's pickup, only to learn the historical transfer restriction meant it couldn't leave county lines until Lucas completed his hours. Dealership laughed her out. Bills mounted, her condo dream dissolved. Scrolling socials at 3 a.m., she found Ivy's clip captioned "Kindness is currency." Beneath, thousands of comments skewered her greed. One read, "You can't short sell karma." She hurled the phone. Back in Pine Creek, Cecilia's living room brimmed with donated books. Lucas hammered final shelf brackets while Mayor Thompson delivered news. The governor's office heard our story, state grant incoming, $75,000 for rural literacy. Cecilia thanked him, heart swelling. Yet that night, as she filed invoices, she spotted a worrying pattern, utilities unpaid on the farmhouse since Harold's illness. Rachel had handled bills then. 2 months delinquent. A sabotage seed? She called the power company. The clerk apologized. Someone canceled your autopay. Cecilia stared at the receiver. Rachel's fingerprints again. She paid immediately, but a spark of anger ignited. Rachel's war wasn't over, it had simply shifted theaters. Late spring thunder drummed while Lucas finished hour 160, recocking library windows. He washed up, found Cecilia on the porch swing. "Mom, about the unpaid utilities." "I should have noticed." Cecilia patted the cushion. "Sit." They rocked, rain scent freshening the air. He said, barely above the patter, "I let Rachel manage everything, finances, decisions, even my conscience. I'm 34 and only now," his voice broke. She squeezed his hand. "Regret is a teacher with sharp chalk. What matters is what you write next." Lucas's shoulders shook. "Dad trusted me to protect you. Instead I..." "Stop." Cecilia's tone firm. You chose wrong, yes. But each hour you hammer, each apology you live, chisels a new path. Don't wallow, walk. He drew a shaky breath. Then may I start by covering next month's property taxes? Cecilia smiled. That would be a fine first sentence. The rain ceased. Fireflies flickered in the garden, tiny lanterns lighting Lucas's new road. 2 days later Cecilia returned from the farmer's market to find a bright for sale sign stabbed into her front lawn, Realtor's logo prominent. Rage flared, but she steadied her breath, dialed Caldwell. He arrived with Deputy Sheriff Collins. Together they compared listing paperwork. The forged signature matched Rachel's handwriting. Collins radioed dispatch, issue a warrant for criminal trespass and attempted fraud, suspect Rachel Harper Bradley. News vans beat the patrol car to Rachel's Atlanta apartment. Ivy's cousin, an anchor, filmed the arrest. Viral within an hour. That evening, Collins returned the sign to Cecilia. Souvenir? She chuckled. A trophy of persistence. But planted out back where the pumpkin vines can swallow it. Lucas hammered the sign behind the barn, burying its lies under honest dirt. June 10th arrived in a blur of sunrise gold. Bunting fluttered along the farmhouse fence, a banner stretched across the porch, grand opening, Harper Community Library. Cars lined the gravel road. The choir warmed up beneath oak branches. Inside, shelves gleamed, catalog cards crisp. On the central table rested Harold's framed photo, visage forever mid-laugh. Cecilia greeted townsfolk, Mrs. Edith May with bougainvillea bouquet, Mr. Jenkins distributing a commemorative newspaper pullout, third-grader Mia clutching her first library card. Governor's aide presented the literacy grant check. Cameras snapped as Cecilia cut the ribbon. The choir launched into This Little Light of Mine, voices dancing over cornfields. Lucas logged volunteer hour 200 as he placed the sign To Kill a Mockingbird behind glass, final act of penance. During speeches, Cecilia said, Harold believed a book is a lantern you can pass hand to hand. Today, lanterns multiply. Applause thundered, tears shimmered. Under fairy lights that evening, townsfolk watched an outdoor screening of Charlotte's Web. Children curled on quilts, parents swaying to soft jazz. Cecilia stood by Lucas, whispering, roots watered. He squeezed her shoulder. Somewhere far south, Rachel scrolled through photos of the celebration, each like salt on open skin. Bail posted by a distant cousin, Rachel drove through the night, rage her compass. At 3 a.m. she parked beyond the solar field's fence, bolt cutters in hand. Security lights cast long shadows across mirrored panels. She clipped one chain, slipped inside, and began smashing panel glass with a tire iron, each shatter a cathartic scream. But motion sensors flashed. Floodlights blazed. A recorded voice boomed, property under surveillance. Law enforcement en route. Panic overtook her. As she fled, she tripped on conduit, twisting her ankle. Sirens wailed. By dawn, state trooper lights strobed across the panels, damage minimal but felonious. Cecilia, summoned at sunrise, arrived in Caldwell's sedan. She surveyed broken glass sparkling like morning frost. Solar keeps working even when cracked, the engineer assured her. Energy still flows. Caldwell added, and insurance will pay triple replacement cost. Cecilia exhaled gratitude, then melancholy. What a waste of cleverness Rachel could have been. Rachel, handcuffed in the trooper's back seat, looked away. A month later Cecilia walked into the library's first summer story hour. 40 children sat cross-legged, faces upturned. She opened a fresh shipment, diverse titles, braille editions, solar-powered e-readers. She began with The Velveteen Rabbit, pausing to let questions bloom. Lucas, now library board treasurer, managed the snack station, apple slices and cinnamon biscuits. During break, Governor's office called, Pine Creek selected as pilot site for a rural digital literacy bus funded by the state's green energy revenues. Cecilia's vision had become scaffolding for bigger dreams. Evenings she hosted tea and tech, teaching grandparents how to video chat with distant family. Laughter filled the once silent farmhouse. The house seemed to breathe again. She kept Harold's chair by the fireplace. Sometimes after closing, she'd sit there, whispering updates, how many books circulated, which tomato plants thrived. The house was no longer a mausoleum but a living organism, each visitor a heartbeat. Late August heat shimmered when Deputy Collins phoned. Rachel's sentencing in 30. Cecilia hesitated, then drove to the courthouse, Lucas beside her. Inside, Rachel limped to the podium, ankle brace visible. Voice hoarse, she addressed the judge. I lost sight of what mattered. Restitution funds are secured. I'm sorry. Judge sentenced her to 18 months probation for 100 community service hours, specifically at Pine Creek Community Projects, pending acceptance by project leads. All eyes shifted to Cecilia. She rose. Silence prickled. Finally, if service can soften stone, let her work. But the library sets the rules. The judge recorded her consent. Rachel murmured thank you, tears real this time. Outside, Cecilia approached. You'll shelve books, paint fences, listen to children read. And you'll do it humbly. Rachel's shoulders sagged. I'll try. Cecilia searched her face, still ambitious, but maybe ambition could pivot. Try is the seed. Tending is the harvest. Lucas exhaled relief, a knot loosed in his chest. Autumn painted the maples crimson when Pine Creek held its first literary lantern festival. Paper lanterns lined Main Street, each inscribed with a favorite quotation. Solar-powered strings twinkled overhead, drawing tourists. At twilight, citizens gathered before the farmhouse stage. Mayor Thompson introduced Cecilia, a woman who turned grief into greatness. She stepped up, cane for style more than need, cameo brooch catching lantern light. Friends, she began, voice warm as cider, a year ago I feared becoming footnote in someone else's story. But librarians know, footnotes are vital, they point readers to deeper truths. She spoke of Harold, of betrayal, of choosing community over courtroom victory. She thanked Lucas, book club friends, even Rachel, now stacking chairs at the back, probation vest over blouse. When she finished, the choir sang This Little Light, the same hymn from Harold's funeral, now triumphant not mournful. Lanterns ascended, drifting into the star-shot sky like glowing punctuation marks. Cecilia stepped down, and Lucas wrapped her in a hug. You did it, Mom. We did, son. She glanced at Rachel, who offered a tentative nod. Growth, slow but visible. Governor's aide approached. State wants to replicate your library solar model in 5 more counties. Will you consult? Cecilia's eyes sparkled. I've got shelf tags and sunbeams aplenty. As the festival wound down, she sat on the porch swing, same wood that once bore her sorrow. Children chased fireflies across lawn. Lucas strummed Harold's old guitar. Rachel handed out hot cocoa, listening more than talking. Cecilia breathed in cool night air. Memory of Harold's laugh fluttered in the leaves, but instead of hurt, it stitched warmth through her ribs. She realized the farmhouse was no longer merely Harold's gift, it was her authored testament. She was the woman they tried to erase, yet here she was, written in lantern light, footnotes and all, a living chapter whose pages would be turned by every child stepping through the library door. And for the first time since that rain-soaked funeral, Cecilia whispered not goodbye, but to be continued. The end.